NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is back in Washington today ahead of next month's NATO summit, celebrating the 75th anniversary of the alliance. CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis is joining us now to talk a little bit about what's on the agenda. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world, so I imagine he's going to be pretty busy. What are they going to be talking about?
Sure. Well, Anne-Marie, you mentioned that they're in the final throes of preparing for this summit marking the 75th anniversary of NATO, and that's being hosted by the U.S. here in Washington, D.C. in early July. Top of the agenda there, of course, is what the U.S. and the alliance-wide commitments to Ukraine are going to look like going forward. And according to European and U.S. sources that I've been speaking with, there are not insignificant gaps remaining on some key issues, particularly on the language that shores up the prospect of NATO membership for Ukraine. U.S. officials have publicly been describing it as a well-lit bridge. The UK and others, including Stoltenberg, have been saying things like irreversible path to membership. And how that is actually described matters, because that's the message that Western supporters are publicly sending to Russia and its allies about how inevitable it is, or not, that NATO accession will happen for Ukraine. So that's a key issue. And then there are, of course, these broader ongoing considerations about what military support, including most crucially air defenses, are going to look like.
And he's also meeting with a couple of lawmakers today. What's he going to be talking about with them, and who?
Sure. He's meeting with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner and Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly. Both of them have had leading roles in this thing called the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, which is a body of lawmakers from all of the 32 NATO member states who engage on top issues at a sort of parliamentary level. The U.S. Congress, of course, plays a very key role in determining not only the nature of aid to Ukraine specifically, but overall U.S. contributions to NATO. So this is Stoltenberg aligning with those congressional leaders in his final months on the job, and of course before U.S. elections, on those kinds of considerations.
Yeah, I'm sure part of what he wants to do is sort of reinforce among lawmakers that NATO is valuable and the U.S. is valuable to NATO.
Absolutely.
So before we let you go, though, there are reports that Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte is going to be succeeding Stoltenberg as NATO chief. So this has not been confirmed or denied by anyone, including Stoltenberg. But what are you hearing, and what can you tell us about Prime Minister Rutte?
Sure. So it certainly looks like Rutte, who is Norway's longest-serving prime minister, and he's viewed as this sort of pragmatic deal-maker with very strongly held positions on Russia, as of today, has a lock on the job. He got crucial endorsements early months ago from the U.S., the U.K., and Germany, who are key decision makers. And in just the past few days, he won over Hungary, which had been blocking his candidacy over objections that it had to how it supports Ukraine or not. It doesn't want to. Just today, the very last holdout to his candidacy, Romania, withdrew its own presidents running for the job. And so with that, it looks like Rutte has the alliance-wide unanimity that he needs in order to be announced as Stoltenberg's successor next month.
All right, Olivia, thank you.
Thank you.